Hello everyone, so this is Teacher Flora. I will discuss to you IGCSE Biology, Paper 1 Multiple Choice 4, taken February-March 2022. So this is a multiple choice questions and I will try to discuss to you the rationale behind each questions. Let's start off with this number. The diagram shows a test tube containing pond water. The green color is caused by microorganisms that have chloroplasts. So in here, the diagram that you see, this is just pale green pond water and the light is off. However, when the light is turned on, this this part, which is dark green area, where the levels of light is found, are congregated together. It means that the microorganisms that have chloroplasts have congregated in this area, concentrated in this area, and then they produce oxygen bubbles. So what would be which characteristics of living organisms are shown? Of course, the right answer is letter B. Why letter B? We have the movement. The movement of the cells going in this part where the light is turned on. Then of course nutrition. Why? Because nutrition, this is when you see the oxygen bubbles where photosynthesis took place. So that's why there is an escape of oxygen bubbles from the microorganisms that has chloroplasts. Why sensitivity? Of course, you can see that the layer of the green area, dark green area, is where the light is on. So that is for this question. Next one. Which term means a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring? Of course, the right answer is species. Why? Because this organism can only produce their own offspring if they have the same species. Not in a population, because in populations between carabaos and cows, they cannot produce a cross between carabaos and cows in the same population. Kingdom, of course, there are lots of animals in the kingdom, as well as that of the genus. Next, an easy question. Which group of characteristics describe a mammal? What is a mammal? Of course, an animal that has body hair, can produce milk, controls body temperature because of the body hair it has, and of course produces live young. So the correct answer is letter A. Next, two types of cell, one animal and one plant, were examined using a light microscope. Which row shows the correct combination of structures that would be observed in cells? Let's look at the questions. Of course, animal cells does not have chloroplasts, so we remove that one. Of course, animal cells does not also have cell wall. We remove that one. So we only have letter B. Because they have cytoplasm, yes, for animals, also nucleus, and of course, very much needed in the plants are the chloroplasts and the membrane that supports or protects the cells. Next, the heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries work together. Which level of organization is shown by these structures working together? Is it only a tissue, an organ, an organism, or an organ system? So we have the heart, the arteries, the veins, in capillaries. So these are the parts of a cardiac system. So the correct answer is letter B. The diagram shows a cell. The diameter of the cell in this diagram is 18 millimeters. We take note of 18 millimeters. The actual diameter of the cell is 0.05 millimeter. What is the magnification of the diagram? So we only have to divide 18 millimeter divided by 0.05 millimeter. Of course, the correct answer for that is times 360 for letter C. The diagram shows a cross-section through a leaf. Which arrow shows the direction of diffusion of carbon dioxide in a sunny day? Of course, if we're talking about carbon dioxide and during the day, we have to consider the stomata, this part. So, carbon dioxide will go in through the stomata. So, the correct answer is letter D. The diagram shows a plant cell which has lost water to its surroundings by osmosis. We have to consider what osmosis is. Osmosis is the movement of water from a lower concentration to a higher concentration for it to equalize the two solutions between those membranes. So of course, the correct answer for that is letter C, because the cell membrane is actually the semi-permeable membrane, not the cell wall, not even in between the cell wall and the cell membrane, and not even the cytosol. It is the cell membrane because it provides protection for the cell itself, and it permits the movement of water in and out of the cells. Next, which row is correct for a positive food test for vitamin C? For the food test, if you want to determine the amount of vitamin C, at first it should be blue and then it will become colorless. So the correct answer for this is letter B, because it does not also require heat when you want to test for vitamin C in the food that you will eat. What controls the speed of chemical reaction in all living cells? The correct answer for this is enzymes, letter A. But please remember, they hasten the reaction but does not in any way control or have or react with the cells. It just hastens or speeds up the reaction. The table shows some properties of enzyme molecules. Which row is a correct description of enzymes? Of course, enzymes can increase reaction rate. So we have here two choices that has the same one. It can increase reaction rate. That is the characteristic of an enzyme. So we will be removing this choices. However, you can see here in letter A, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen only. The word only. In letter, that makes it the wrong choice. So we have the correct answer for this is letter C. We have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So enzymes also can be reused because, of course, as I've said a while back, it can only increase the reaction rate, but it does not affect the chemical reaction. Next, A piece of foil was placed over a green and white leaf on the plant. So we have here white part and the green part, and then of course the foil. The plant was placed under a bright light for 24 hours and then tested for starch with iodine solution, which diagram shows the areas of the leaf that would stain blue-black with iodine solution. Of course, the correct answer is letter A. Why A? Because it will have a positive color for that of the green. It will have a blue-black stain because it was under the sun, or I mean under the bright light. However, because of the foil that is placed in between, this part did not produce any starch or any glucose or any food for that matter because it was covered. For letter B, of course, it will not happen this way because the part that is covered did not produce any food. The white part should not be darkened, will not be darkened because it does not have a green pigment. And so also for this. So the correct answer is letter A. The diagram shows a cross-section of a leaf. Which labeled cell is a guard cell? Of course, when we're talking about the guard cell, it has to be in the stomata. So the correct answer for this is letter B. So these are the guard cells. Which condition can be caused by a lack of fiber in the diet? So fiber is found in green leafy vegetables. So if you lack this, you have the inability to have more loose bowels. So the correct answer is letter A. Constipation, not obesity, not even scurvy. Scurvy is for the lack of vitamin C. Starvation, not also, because you can still be full even if you don't eat other food aside from that of the fiber. Which structure has a large surface area for the absorption of digested food? Of course, not the alveolus. This is part of the respiratory system. The ileum, the liver, and the pancreas are all for the digestive system. However, the liver and the pancreas just secrete. The liver function is for the detoxification, but not actually in the absorption of digested food, as well as that of the pancreas. It only secretes insulin and other types of enzymes in the digestion of food. So the correct answer is the ileum. In which part of the alimentary canal do both chemical digestion and mechanical digestion take place? So of course, when we're talking about chemical digestion and mechanical digestion, chewing occurs for mechanical digestion. Of course, the colon cannot chew but can have a chemical digestion. Duodenum, no mechanical digestion, only chemical digestion. And the esophagus cannot also undergo mechanical digestion. So the correct answer is in the mouth, where some enzymes act on the chewed food. So chemical digestion also takes place as well as mechanical digestion. The diagram shows stages in the passage of water through a plant. Which arrow shows water moving in the form of, okay. Of course, if we're talking about this, it moves in, the water moves in the roots, so it's not moving out. as a water vapor. In the stem, we have the xylem. It goes up, so there is no water vapor involved. For the leaves, of course, we have letter B because it goes out as water vapor. Which molecules are transported by the phloem? So the correct answer for this is letter D, sugar. So it says here, phloem is responsible for transporting organic molecules such as sugars, amino acids, certain phytohormones, and even messenger RNAs. That is actually the transported or the molecules that are transported by the phloem. The diagram shows a section through the heart. What is the function of the structure labeled? Actually, this part of the labeled Q is what we call the mitral valve. It prevents the backflow of blood from the ventricle to the auricle. So it prevents it from coming back or regurgitating back to the ventricle. So the correct answer for this is letter C. Which blood vessel returns blood from the lungs to the heart? Actually, the correct answer, so we already have, if it comes from the lungs to the heart, it means that the blood is also already oxygenated. When we say oxygenated blood, it already contains oxygen. However, usually oxygenated blood, the blood vessels that has this are actually the arteries. However, we have the letter B is not the correct answer. Not also the aorta, not also the renal vein. The renal vein is found in the kidneys, but of course we have the pulmonary vein. This is the only vein found in the body that contains oxygenated blood. What is an example of a transmissible? So when we're talking about transmissible, it can be transmitted from one person to another. Of course, COPD, chronic heart disease, and dental decay are lifestyle diseases that cannot be just transferred through any forms. But the correct answer for this is an STI. STI, or sexually transmitted infection, is transmissible through sexual intercourse. So the correct answer is letter A. Compared with inspired air, which description of expired air is correct? Of course, when we're talking to inspired air, that has, when you take it in, of course there is a lot of oxygen, and when you take it out or you expire it, the oxygen is lesser. So we remove choices C and D because of the term more oxygen. And of course, if it is expired, there is more carbon dioxide. So we remove letter A. So the correct answer is letter B because it has less oxygen and more carbon dioxide. So this is what we call when we have the expired air. Which row shows a feature of the gas exchange surface in humans? It says here it should have a large surface area to allow faster diffusion of gases across the surface and thin walls to ensure diffusion distances remain short. So the correct answer for this is letter B. So large surface area and thin walls. Yeast is placed inside a container full of glucose solution with no air. No air. So which word equation summarizes the process that takes place inside the container? So if we're talking with that there is no air, therefore there should be no oxygen. So it's removed from there. And then we have two choices left. But we're talking about yeast that is placed in a container. Why do you have to do that? This is to produce alcohol. So the correct answer for that is letter A. Which process uses energy released in respiration? So we have here diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of the concentration, a higher concentration to a lower concentration. So it's not the process that is being asked. Evaporation, of course, this is heating, wherein the liquid portion is evaporated or being released because of the heat. Osmosis is also a form of diffusion through semi-permeable membrane. So the correct answer for this is, we have it, letter C, growth. The graph shows the rate of sweat production and urine production at different environmental temperature. You will see here that the higher the temperature is, the higher is the sweat production. But that is not the same with that of the urine. So choice letter A is not true. As the temperature increases, the rates of urine and sweat and urine production increases. So urine decreases, while that of the sweat, it increases. As temperature increases, the rate of urine production increases, but it's not what the graph tells us. So at 25 degrees centigrade, the rates of sweat and urine production are the same. So we have here the 25 degrees centigrade, and they meet that exact point. And therefore, the correct answer is letter C. Urine and sweat production are directly proportional to the environmental temperature. Should be, however, it's not in the case of urine. So the correct answer is letter C. Which number parts form the central nervous system? So number 1 actually is the brain, and the number 2 is the spinal cord. So the correct answer for this is letter B. Why not 3? 3 is actually what we call the peripheral nerves. So this is not a part of the central nervous system. The diagram shows a section through the eye of an octopus. Octopuses have eyes that are similar in the structure and function of the human eyes. So we see here that 5, this is the pupil, 6 is the cornea, 7 is the lens, and 4 is the iris. So the correct answer for this is letter D. The diagram shows a seedling that has been placed in the soil, in a pot of soil. So it is horizontal. So which diagram shows what happens after 5 days? Of course, when we talk about the roots, it will go, or it will penetrate the soil. So for letter C, this is not the right drawing or diagram, because the roots will eventually penetrate the soil. Letter D is not also the correct diagram, because of course the roots will go towards or penetrate the soil. And eventually, the bud will go to the direction of the sunlight. For letter B, the bud did not go to where the sunlight is. So letter B is not correct. The correct answer is letter A. What is the definition of a drug? So is it any illegal substance taken into the body? Drugs are also termed as medicine. So this one is not correct. Any substance taken into the body, not all substances taken into the body is drugs. Any substance taken into the body that modifies and affects chemical reactions in the body is called drug, maybe. Yes. Any substance taken into the body which is not a medicine, which is also not correct. In taking the test, you also sometimes, just sometimes, the longest answer is actually, or the longest choice is actually the correct answer. Which statement about reproduction is correct? Let us see. For A, all living species can reproduce asexually. When we're talking about sexually, they do not need the male and female gamete to reproduce. However, not all can do that, so that is not the correct answer. Gametes are needed for asexual reproduction. Of course, when we say asexual, gametes are needed. So this is not the correct answer. Only organisms that are separated from other organisms of the same species can reproduce asexually. They can lay eggs like chickens. They can lay egg even if there are no gametes. However, the eggs are not fertile or infertile, so they cannot be reproduced asexually. So the correct answer is letter D. Some organisms reproduce asexually and asexually. So not all organisms can reproduce both asexually and sexually, but some. So the correct answer is letter D. Fertilization is the fusion of which parts of two cells? Of course, not the cell walls, not even the cytoplasm, not also the vacuoles, but that of the nuclei, because that is where the DNA is found. So the correct answer for this is letter C. Which rows shows the conditions required for germination? What is needed for germination? In germination, there should be a presence of appropriate amount of environmental conditions such as oxygen, temperature, light, and moisture. So we're talking about, it does not talk about carbon dioxide. So these choices are okay because this one talks about carbon dioxide. However, it talks about oxygen, suitable temperature, as well as moisture. So in B, it does not, it has a no, it says no for suitable temperature. So this one, we'll have to remove this because it should have a suitable temperature. The correct answer there is letter D, not letter A and letter C, because we already removed that because of the presence of carbon dioxide. We have a pedigree here. The pedigree diagram shows the inheritance of genetic disease in the family. You can see that both the male and female are unaffected. However, they have a child which has the disease. More or less, these parents have heterozygous characteristics. Let's have, for example, we have heterozygous. Usually, affected individuals with both parents that are unaffected are people with a recessive or heterozygous uh, traits. So in here, we'll use the Punnett square because it's a lot easier. So we have dominant, homozygous, heterozygous, therefore unaffected. We have heterozygous, unaffected, and affected individual. Where did we get this one? In here we have the dominant trait, and then this one is recessive. And then this one here, and recessive one in here. So more or less, the parents are heterozygous. So we remove letter C and letter D. And individual B is actually recessive because, 5 is homozygous recessive because it has the disease. So we remove this one. So the correct answer for that is letter B. The photograph shows 2 wind-pollinated flowers. Let's see. So these are the wind-pollinated flowers, which shows the features in these flowers. Of course, the feathers or the petals are not large, and therefore we already removed letter A and letter B. The anthers position inside the flowers. You can see the anthers in here. So no. So we already removed this one. So the correct answer, we have the feathery stigmas. You can see there the feathers of the stigma. So this is the anthers. It is outside the flowers, and the stigma is over here. These are the anthers, which are outside of the flower. So no. And then the feathery stigma, yes. So the correct answer for this is letter C. A scientist studied wild birds that live in a lake. He observed that one bird species had a beak that was adapted to extract small insects from the water. Which process would have occurred in the development of this specialized beak? Of course, there is no genetic engineering involved in here. So we remove that. Natural selection. Let's see. Selective breeding. Not really. And then fossilization, of course. The birds aren't fossils yet, so we remove this one. Actually, the correct answer for this is letter B, because the beak of the bird becomes such as that it has to be adapted to extract small insects from the water. If it's not for extracting small insects from the water, the beak would become another type instead of this adaptability to extract small insects from the water. So it is actually a natural selection. So it is like that of the giraffe, wherein it has a short neck before, but because the food that they have to eat is above on the high up in the tree, so they have to elongate their neck for a certain number of years, probably centuries, just to adapt to its environment. What is the principal source of energy for the food chain shown? So we have the grass, caterpillar, the frog, the snake, and the owl. From the choices, we have water. Water is not actually a source of energy. Mineral ions is not also a source of energy. Glucose, but we have the term principal source. So actually, it is because of the sunlight that is used by the grass to produce food during photosynthesis. So the correct answer for that is letter D. The diagram shows three different types of organism in a food chain. So we have the producer, the organism 2, and the organism 3. Which statement is the correct for this food chain? We have A, organism 2 is a carnivore. Of course, organism 2 is not a carnivore because it eats the producer. So this is an herbivore. So this is not the correct answer. Organism 2 is a secondary consumer. No, it's actually a primary consumer because it eats the producer. Organism 3 is a carnivore. Yes, it is because it eats organism 2, which is also an animal that eats the producer. Organism 3 is a tertiary consumer. No, because it is actually the secondary consumer. So the correct answer is letter C. Which row shows the expected consequences of deforestation? Deforestation is you cut the trees in the forest. So carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere increases because the carbon dioxide that should be absorbed by the plants is already in the atmosphere. So let's remove choice A and choice B. The soil levels, because of soil erosion, it will also decrease, and flooding increases and not decreasing or decreases. So the correct answer for this is letter C. Gorillas are a type of large mammal. The graph shows the number of gorillas found in one region of a country. So we have here the graph of the number of gorillas. What could have caused the trend between 2000 and 2015? So the trend actually moved up. So what have caused the trend? It's not deforestation because, of course, if this is deforestation, the number should have decreased further. Habitat destruction, of course not. Disease, of course not, because if there is a disease, there should be a decrease in number. Hunting ban is the correct answer. Why? Because of course, when you ban the hunting of these animals, their species will increase. So that's it. That's the end of the test for biology in the core subject.